Hello. Well, I just thought I'd like to exchange a few thoughts with you this morning, or whenever it is that you decide to tune in and have a listen. Um, I was thinking how lonely is the path of the campaigner for spiritualism. Yes, we do have organisations, we do work in groups, we have congregations, we have churches, but each individual spiritualist feels the responsibility very keenly, whether they are a speaker, a medium, a healer, whether they are part of a church council or committee, part of the administration structure of their spiritualist organisation or group, church, centre, or a member of a congregation, or just somebody, and that's increasing now, of course, who is just interested in the concepts and philosophy and the practices of spiritualism. And of course, with this recent dreadful pandemic, we have all taken to the airwaves and everybody's broadcasting. And yes, there are plenty of broadcasts from the Orthodox religions and so on. And it's even more now for the spiritualist way of life. We are able to bring that interest to people wherever they are, and of course around the world. Modern spiritualism itself started in 1848, and there have been so many wonderful people since that advent who have been spreading the news that there is no death, that we live on after we shuffle off this physical shell of ours, and that we can prove this through mediumship, through instruments of spirit, to communicate with us from that realm of light wherein our loved ones dwell, and those who have always been here before us and are still with us and will continue to be with us for all time. And of course, the most earth-shattering thing of all is to think that that has always been the case. And the fact is that we are all of the spirit. We're all spirit, and we come from spirit. We are spirit here and now within our bodies, and that's where we will go back to. And this has met with such opposition. And it ill behoves me to talk about other religious belief systems that talk about eternal life and all the rest of it, but say that people have got to do X, Y, Z in order to achieve that. And the other thing, of course, the other side of that is that if they don't do what they're told, they will go to hell, which is, it was the old Hebrew name for this awful place just outside Jerusalem, where things used to get burned, and unfortunately, human beings and so on, certain times were deposited and burned. So, of course, you can see that's how the concept of hell came into being in that way. So, having got rid of those misconceptions, misapprehensions, we're still struggling, all this time later, really to be accepted perhaps more in the mainstream than we are. I was talking about our pioneers in this little strap heading thing, famous and not famous. And some of our mediums, of course, are famous, if not notorious, like dear Helen Duncan. In the mid 20th century, she was prosecuted as a witch, and this led, of course, to the passing of a bill in Parliament that meant that spiritualists could all practice openly and without fear, as long as they were genuine. And as we know, most mediums, people who call themselves mediums, are genuine. That means that they can actually communicate with that other world and relay messages from it. And of course bring teachings and so on from the more highly evolved beings. Well, Maurice Barbanel, who founded the Psychic News newspaper back in 1932, was a wonderful medium for his group and guide Silver Birch. That I recommend to you. If you could get hold of some books, whatever, read some of those, very good. But Maurice Barbanel was as well a journalist. And as I said, he founded and published Psychic News, a weekly newspaper, as of 1932. It didn't finish until the 21st century. And between the 20th and 21st, I was the editor as well. So from 1996 to 2003, there you go. Now, Maurice wrote a pamphlet. You could call it a pamphlet. I'll show you this. Look at that. Rogues and Vagabonds by Maurice Barbanel, editor of Psychic News, price 6p. That's 2.5p, I think, in new money. And he wrote this in 1944. And he was arguing for acceptance of our principles and us as a religious movement, and saying that we should not be lumped together with the Witchcraft Act with rogues and vagabonds. And he wrote a very long piece on it. And eventually, in 1951, we saw a change in the law, and the Witchcraft Act was repealed, and we were free to practice our religious belief as mediums without fear of being prosecuted. Now, what do we do now? It doesn't seem as if we've moved on very far from that, because we still come under attack, particularly from, some Christian groups who say that we are doing the work of the devil, that the messages we get are not true, or they come from evil spirits. Well, I know a few of our relatives might have liked the odd glass or two of something, but evil, no. They might have liked the odd spirit, if you see what I mean. But we've had many, many speakers during that time. And before that, before Maurice published that, we had many, many, many good speakers, mediums and healers who all worked away there. But, again, each one, I believe, felt the responsibility individually, as we do. And here we have this other book, which was written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, The History of Spiritualism, and that's a very good book. He did it in 2 volumes. I was asked at one time if I'd like to do a history of spiritualism for a publishing house, but then that fell flat, and I was asked no more. So the fact is that we do have a history, and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle actually killed off his character and his moneymaker for him, Sherlock Holmes, in order to devote more time to speaking for spiritualism and writing books about it, like this one, for instance. However, his adoring public insisted, and he brought Sherlock Holmes back from the dead, which was quite appropriate, really. And of course, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle had a friendship with Harry Houdini, aka Eric Weiss, the escapologist, who spent all his life trying to get a message from his mother, and apparently unsuccessfully, although rumour has it that he did get a message from his mother that was quite evidential, but we won't go back on that old chestnut anymore. And this other book that I picked up, When Your Animal Dies, is by Maurice Barbanel's wife, Sylvia Barbanel. Now, she was, together with Lord Dowding's wife, Air Chief Marshal Lord Dowding, who was a spiritualist and wrote this called The Lich Gate, amongst other things. Air Chief Marshal Lord Dowding was head of Bomber Command during the war, so he wasn't any sort of fading flower, was he? With his head in the clouds, except in a plane. And Lady Dowding, together with Sylvia Barbanel, founded Beauty Without Cruelty, because of course they were vegetarians and they didn't eat animals, and they wanted to protect them from the cruelties of the cosmetic trade that used to test their products, their beauty products, on defenseless animals. And they founded that Beauty Without Cruelty company to do, in opposition to that. And of course, that's what we have to do, don't we? We have to look at what everybody else is saying and doing, and then actually do what we know is the right thing, and to say what is the right thing and tell people the truth. I'm just going to look at comments. I've just been reminded by them upstairs, who are always with me, by the way. That's the other good thing, about being a medium. If you can develop your own mediumship, if you haven't already, do try, because you don't have to go on a public platform or give readings or anything like that to anybody. You can do it just for your own benefit, and believe me, it's a wonderful benefit. So it's a benefit to other people too, because my lot, as I call them reverently, remind me not to go on too much and bring me back to the point. And here we have something by someone who's called Brother John. Truth Has No Label. He used to write every week in Psychic News. Wonderful philosophy. Now, the thing is that what I was trying to tell you there was that we have so many wonderful things that we can pass on to other people, that we should really perhaps take our mind off trying to defend ourselves to all and sundry, and actually just move forward with what we know and do what we do. And if you are a medium, keep on giving those messages out, keep on giving those communications. Doesn't matter what they say. And the other thing about that is too that I know that there's a need really to look as if you're sort of middle of the road, mainstream person, normal. But there's no requirement in spiritualism to be that. Jesus himself, for instance, somebody we revere, trailed around Israel in sort of long flowing garments and just some sandals, and yet I know that there are certain spiritualist churches, for instance, who would shrink from that if somebody turned up in a long robe and sandals and said that, and announced that they were the medium for the evening. They were going to give messages dressed like that. So you have to smile about those things, but it's understandable that people want to be accepted, and this goes right across the board for all sorts of reasons, where people are marginalised or minoritized, if you like, in society at large. The thrust is to try and conform in some way to other people's ideas of what you should look like, how you should behave, stuff like that. But spiritualists don't really need all that, do they? And I would say, I see that Tony Swindles, good morning to you, dear Tony. He is the medium you all know by the glamorous fingernails that he sports when he's giving messages on they could be any colour at all that you like. We could call him Twinkle Fingers. And why not? And it's all about getting that message over to people, that their loved ones are near to them, that those that they have felt that they've loved and lost are still there, and just a thought away, and a good genuine medium will bring some comfort to you, giving you some messages from them, some communication. And I'm saying hello to everybody. Say hello to everybody, sort of like a group hug. People's practices as well have been a bit strange, perhaps to those of us who are a little bit more sort of worldly, perhaps, tree hugging, for instance, and drumming, and using crystals and all sorts of different stuff that people do. But, you know, it's all within our practices, and why not? So the thing is this, that, you know, we've had so many wonderful people speaking out on behalf of spiritualism that we should be uplifted by that, and we should all go forward, you know, knowing that many of these people, that especially the ones I've just mentioned, have all gone to spirit now themselves, and they spent a good part of their earthly life trying to spread the word that we're still trying to spread. And we haven't done badly, really. We call it modern spiritualism because that was the advent in 1848. But of course, you know, if you look at all the ancient texts that there are, and writing has only been going on in this world for about 5,000 years, and all those things that have been written down, as you look through them, you'll see all sorts of psychic and spiritualist phenomena going on. And as spiritualists, it's wonderful, you know, we can look at those things and think, yes, we understand that, you know, and particularly the New Testament is very prevalent here in England. And you can look through one of them and see all sorts of spiritualist phenomena. You know, you can see how Jesus was transfigured. We understand transfiguration in spiritualism, and glowed like the light, and was seen talking to both Elijah and Moses on the side of the mountain, and his disciples, his followers, were there, and they witnessed this. And these people were so real to them that they said, should we build them a tent, Master? Should we build them some covering or something? No. And then, of course, they were gone. After they'd had their conversation, they went back to spirit. But, you know, these manifestations are all the way through all sacred texts. And we're fortunate as spiritualists that we can actually say to people, look, this is still going on. You know, there is still something for us in all of that. And it is so helpful. And especially at times like this, everybody's stressed. Everybody, of course, has their individual problems and upsets and suffering. But our way of life, our spiritualism, actually gives us a key to unlock some happiness for our fellow human being, and also, of course, our fellow creatures on earth, the animal kingdom. And, you know, it's such a wonderful thing that I think that nobody should lose heart. We should all keep pressing forward. And, you know, all the healing that we get and all the healing that goes out is marvellous. I mean, Harry Edwards was another spiritualist pioneer. He had the healing. He founded the healing sanctuary at Shear near Guildford, and they are still open. And this is amazing that you know, this healing has been going on. He instituted something called the Healing Minute at 10 o'clock every night. And other groups also do that same thing. They have a healing prayer at 10 o'clock every night. And can you imagine the wonderful vibration that sets up? And it actually defeats the powers of darkness that people always think that we're working for. And of course, you know, where there's light, there is dark, and night and day. And that's how it is, positive and negative here on the earth, and also in the world of spirit. The difference is in spirit, like attracts like, and negative attracts negative. So that's directly opposite to our earthly polarities, because here negative attracts positive. And of course, we all understand how in our lives we've been tripped up by negatives to our positives. But as long as we understand that and we get over it, and we look to the world of spirit for our guidance, we are able to get over all those ills that beset us all. Now, I think I don't know how long I've been talking for now. I've got a feeling that because them upstairs are saying, I think you've gone on a bit too long. But anyway, other than giving you a litany of praise for all those who've gone before, you know, please do look up spiritualist pioneers, and you'll see a whole list of people, you know, both in America, where spiritualism itself started, and here in the UK. and also around the world. Also, I must mention Israel, because Reverend Judith Freeman and I potted off out there, and in the early 90s, and we spread the word of spiritualism out there. And we do have a spiritualist pastor out there, as he often lets us know. He's overlooking the valley where David slew Goliath. And hello to Pastor James out there. And do you know, I took a whole load of spiritualist hymn books, because they're so good for messages as well as everything else. They've got such marvellous words written by loads of spiritualists in there. That's the other thing, isn't it, about books? You know, people wonder why I have so many books, but it's everybody's thoughts, and they're so important, are they? They're precious. And they didn't have the means that we have today of recording words, for the most part. Although our Doris Stokes did make some recordings and tapes and things like that, thankfully. And you can see those on YouTube. And also I ought to mention that I have made many talks and given the instruction on how to develop and so on, and to meditate on YouTube. And my channel is called Lynn Gibb-de, unsurprisingly. So do have a look on there if you're at a loose end and you fancy trawling through some of the stuff that I put on there. Lots of different talks and stuff. So I hope you've enjoyed a little chat with me. I've enjoyed talking to you, because we all have our problems, and one of the best things to do is to come out of oneself and to talk to somebody else, and just exchange some thoughts, and know that people are sending warm thoughts to you, because indeed they will, as I send mine out now to you who are watching and listening to me now. I just wish that we were in a hall together, or a room together properly, and I could see you. And of course, on some of these apps, one can do all that, but I'm not terribly technologically minded. I see that here, I have a thing here where there's little signs where it says 2 people, but I've got no idea how to do that, so I'll just go back to the 1 in case I end up cutting us off altogether. And of course, what we need to do is send up our collective supplications for healing for all those who are sick and suffering today. So as we say, dear Lord, Great Spirit, Mother and Father of all creation, we ask humbly for your help right now to give healing and comfort to ourselves and to all those who are sick and suffering. And dear God, please look after those who are very, very ill and alleviate their suffering. We ask also for children of this world, the innocents. We ask also for the animals, that those who are responsible for their welfare are given compassion and love in their hearts. And we ask, dear Lord, that you look after us this day and every day. Amen. There. So I hope that you've enjoyed the little chat with me today, and I'll speak to you again quite soon. I expect I can get it together. I have all these different writings to do. I write for the Psychic World newspaper, and I do a sort of posh article in there every month. It's about 1,500 words, which is a big page full. But hopefully they're of interest. Some people seem to find it interesting. So I thought I'd better let you know about that. And of course, there's our website, the New Christian Spiritualist Society.com. And I have my own website as well, which is www.lynngesteswalk.com, and loads and loads of articles and stuff on there that you might find interesting. So I say God bless to you. Ask for a blessing for you, your families, your friends, your animals. Keep you safe until we meet again. Bye for now. Bye.